And we are live! Hey, hi everyone! Welcome again for another episode of the Puppet Podcast. I'm Caroline Bernier-Dionne, Caroline Bernier-Dionne, CaroBD, and I'm the host of this podcast. The purpose of it, just to remember, is to promote great artist work, promoting the puppetry art, and build a network. We are kind of in a funny moment right now, so it's the best time to just connect and put this intention towards the future that art will still alive. I really believe it, and I pushed all my purpose towards this. So everyone, thank you for watching this show, being here, and just like thumbs up if you agree with this intention. And if you have the chance to just write in the comment from where you are watching the Puppet Podcast, I'm also really happy to see that and just like look at the international perspective that we have on this show. So yeah, things going well for the podcast. We almost hit the 1,000 on YouTube. We grow on every platform. So we are really happy, and we get this wonderful workshop last weekend. It was amazing. So you will saw some stuff going about it online. We shoot some challenge, some assignment for the student who attend to the workshop. So it was really cool. So stay tuned because we have another one about building in August. So you will see that, and look the Patreon. We have quite of good tips to help Puppeteer in their promotion and this online time. It's online promotion. So yeah, so I stopped talking, and I will bring my guests. So we're going tonight in North Carolina. I'm so happy because I'm Caroline, and I always get this. What is North Carolina? What is South Carolina? I'm kind of really happy to connect with that environment because we go in the mountain of North Carolina with Mr. Donovan Zimmerman. So let's just bring him in the screen. Is the artistic director of Paperhand Intervention. Please welcome Mr. Donovan.
Hello.
It's like a show, eh? You just like to do showtime.
You're awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much for being there in your little forest right now.
Yes, I'm here in my little forest. It's actually maybe large, but
a large
yes,
forest.
Yeah, with a river very nearby that I can hear, called the Tow River, and it's a beautiful, sort of clear, delightful river with lots of rocks and swimming holes, and so I'm just on a little sort of a vacation, I guess you could say. I'm not working, so I don't know what I'm vacationing from. I'm just taking in a different environment for the moment.
Yeah, it's kind of a good place to be, connect to nature. It's good for the creativity.
That's right. I do get a lot of inspiration from walking in the forest and plants and waterfalls and all the things that you can find up here. It's a place where I recharge my, my artistic creative batteries.
Yeah.
Hopefully go back and get something done after this.
Yeah, we were discussing a little bit before the interview about like how this time the and giant puppet, because you are into the giant puppet world. Like, could you introduce a bit of your path and your work? I know we will bring some picture and video at the end, but could you just tell us where you're from? And
Yeah, so I'm based out of central North Carolina, a little town called Saxapahaw, and it is a place where for the past 20 years, have been creating giant puppet pageants and shows of all kinds, a lot of masks and shadows as well. Um, and we make an annual giant puppet production that is crowdsourced and funded by the people around the community that is somewhat national and international, but is mostly around that central North Carolina region. And we just basically pour our everything into creating giant puppet spectacles for all ages, for people to be inspired and to rekindle connection between ourselves and the natural world. That's basically the main thrust of our work. We really try to foster that connection, but not only to the earth and to its creatures, but to our own stories as human beings and how we fit into the larger context. And we really try to exercise people's empathy muscles, so that, because we feel like the business of everyday life that can tend to weaken these times. And so when people's empathy gets weaker, it's hard for them to really be engaged in the work that we all need to be doing to make to the bettering of the world. That's where my heart is, for we call our work oftentimes artivism, because it comes with a pretty strong message oftentimes. But we try not to beat anyone over the head with it. We try to, let the message come in organically. But we're in this unique time now, as you were saying, where we've stopped all our work. But we've got 20 years of different shows and interventions and parades and festivals, events. We just we stay pretty busy. Right now, in the middle of July is when we would be closing in on Hell Week or Gel Week. A show that I'm sitting in the mountains of North Carolina, enjoying waterfalls and playing with my puppy and my 8-year-old.
Yeah, that's good. You take time for yourself. I was curious because like the name of your company is theater and also intervention. So you have kind of like, I want to understand the difference, or the fact that they have like the performance side or the street show, or could you explain that to me?
Yeah, so we got our start, myself and Jan Berger, he's been my partner in this since the beginning. And it's the Dutch pronunciation of John. He's Jan. And he and I have been friends for 25 years. And we started doing puppetry together after being just artists and activists on our own paths. And then we came together around an environmental education festival called the Hall Learning Celebration. And this was very specifically targeted towards school kids in the 4th grade in the US, to help them, again, foster a connection with the natural world. It's not as much of an othering, and it's more of a integrated system of connection. And so we did that, and then we just we wanted to continue and make the shows bigger and more inclusive and reach wider audiences. So we kept going, and the reason we titled it an intervention, it's called Paperhand Puppet Intervention, and we both agreed early on that the status quo in the U.S. And around the world largely, but in the U.S. especially, is just unacceptable in many ways. That it basically, the status quo is white supremacy, for example. The status quo is violence against many people, especially people's money. There's a lot of problems with the business of everyday life, as people say. So just the business of everyday life was causing a lot of harm, not eating up the environment like there was no tomorrow. The resources were endless, but so we wanted our art to be, you could say it like this, like a giant paper mache hand, reaching down out of a cardboard cloud and tapping someone on the head and saying, "Wake up! It's time to wake up." And so it is an intervention, and in that way, the business of everyday life is interrupted by this art experience that has giant puppets, where you just have to deal with with our art as it comes into your field, because we very much like to bring the puppets into the audience. We try to break the fourth wall often with our experience. It's not just you're in the audience inactive, but you're very much a part of the show when you come. And so we really nurture that and try to foster that. And oddly enough, over the years, it's become quite a tradition, and quite among many families, thousands and thousands of families, to come every year and experience our big summer show. That it usually runs for 8 weeks, and sees about 25,000 people.
Wow.
And for whatever that's worth, but it reaches people in different ways, and they go home and they talk about it, and it starts conversations. And we've always been about trying to shift the paradigm from one that was basically kind of awful to somewhat awesome or amazing.
Yeah.
So we're trying to be a part of the bettering, and not just do art for art's sake and just make sort of spectacle art for just because it's pretty.
Yeah.
We like to make things beautiful as well, and but that's not the end of the story for us. We like to
Yeah.
go into people's hearts and see what we can, and minds, and see what kind of magic we can spark there.
Totally. You are on a mission. Yeah.
Yeah, and I take this very seriously. I mean, it's not something that's just like I go to my job and
Uh-huh.
I can sort of switch it off. It's my life, and it's my passion, and it's very much the passion is just as much about our community, but also reminding us all that without the ground we walk on, and whatever that is so rare on this planet, and without the air that we share, nothing much else to talk about. And
Yeah.
those things all have seemed endangered to us for at least the past 20 years. I mean, of course, it's all risen to the surface of the conversation a lot more in the past 5 or 10 years, but it's always been a part of our absolute determined mission to shift the paradigm.
I totally get it. It's kind of really a lot of art and dedication in the message, and that's really awesome.
A lot of sweat too.
Yeah, sweat and tears and effort on lifting those big puppets.
Oh, the puppets are heavy too, yeah. We've learned how to make them lighter. We have learned how to make things quite large and keep it fairly light, though it still does take a lot of strength and things to keep them up. But we do our shows in in August and September in the south of the U.S., which is a lot of humidity and 100 degree heat. So there's a lot of sweating and sometimes tears, but a lot of laughter and joy. We've got a great crew. We bring together artists and school teachers and environmental activists and a whole wide variety of people to work on the shows with us. We often have, because they're giant, take multiple people. Like one puppet could take 10 people sometimes. Yeah. We have often a fairly large cast, so 25 is kind of like an average number. And then we always have a live band who plays the music and does all the Foley and sound effects. And yeah,
That's so great. Yeah, we will see some image. People, be patient. We will see some image at the end. But yeah, it's so amazing. So we have, just to let you know, we have Eric Bornstein who say that you do amazing work, and Deborah also said that you are a great artist.
Oh, Deborah Amaral.
Deborah Hunt.
Oh, okay.
I hope I
Eric
pronounced well.
Bornstein, I know him. He's an incredible mask maker. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
an incredible mask maker. Have you talked to him?
Yeah, I interview him at the beginning of the adventure, and I also been in Boston for I get a grant to go and have a month over there and met the Boston community. So it
Uh-huh.
was really a blast over there. Yeah.
His work is very awesome, inspiring. Yeah.
Yes, so much. So hi, Eric. So let's go for the question of the podcast. It's always the same question, but you have so much content around it. So the first one is, why the art of puppetry is an art that you cherish?
Hmm. For me, um, it's just because puppetry has a sneaky little way of making its way into people's inner, um, somewhat protected places, because they are not expecting it. It's so often a surprise that people um, just they come to the show thinking, oh, puppet show, okay, this is going to be, I don't. Some people don't even come. They have to like be convinced that they're going to a puppet show because they're like, oh, that's for kids or this and that. And so education is that we don't do kitty puppet show, or we make it for everyone. And so the thing about it is that I'm drawn to puppetry for is that there's a magical sort of existence that is present just beneath the surface of our ordinary everyday lives that I as an artist have felt like I've really worked at trying to stay connected to and tapped into, and it just allows people, I've found over and over again, just through experimentation with audiences, to just tap into magical realms so quickly and easily. They just give themselves over in this way that is just very profound. Explain it really, giving you examples where um, we would bring a giant beast of the wild that had died and been killed by like a giant hero, but it was resurrected by this sort of goddess. And as this beast rose and came into the audience, like every hand in the audience that was nearby shot up to when I would bend the beast down and near them. They just wanted to touch and they just wanted to connect with that living, breathing in their minds, like um, um, illustration of the wild or nature. And
Mm.
there were some little girls who were from India who came walking down the steps in this very prayerful way as they came up to us. And I've seen it be, and I'm not trying to exaggerate, I've seen it look like a sort of faith healing,
Uh-huh.
where people leading their grandmother over to touch the puppet, or as we bring it up through the audience, we lean it down, and when I see that type of this sort of amazing opening of, or like people are just, they're so present moment in those times where they're
Yeah.
not thinking about their email, they're not thinking about their um, who they need to get in touch with or whatever. They're just completely present. And that to me is a very strong form of activism, to bring people to the moment. And so
Mm.
puppetry, I feel, is the way that does that so beautifully over and over again. And when you combine it with the music that is sort of creating the emotion, and you have the mask and you have the giant puppet or the shadow puppet, um, people are so willing to suspend their disbelief with puppetry. I find even more so than I feel than just straight acting, um,
Mm-hmm.
um, because it's one level of separation. And then again, it tricks the brain. It tricks it. It's like, oh, it's becoming alive, and without even registering it, it's alive in their mind in a place that it's not supposed to be. So it creates a new space inside the brain where living and non-living are made to interact, and because you know consciously that it's just paper mache and cloth and wood or whatever we have, bamboo, but then when your brain is tricked, the continual delight that comes from the surprise of like, oh my god, I'm feeling something, and feeling something quite profound that's actually that's moving them in some deep way. And again, this is just reflections from people telling me that this happens to them.
Wow.
And then me seeing that
Yeah.
when we're doing it live, and I'm bringing the puppet down, and you can see the look on their faces of complete surrender. So I got kind of addicted to that as a puppeteer. You know, like I love taking people to those magical places. You know, and it's something that coming back because it feeds my battery, my spiritual battery, and I think it's a very honest reflection of our humanity. So I think that's why puppetry is so powerful, is that you can see different aspects of your own emotional landscape within a puppet, and how it moves, how it interacts. And again, that very act of seeing that is the exercising of the empathy muscle, that is sort of an awakening for some people. They're like, damn, I didn't realize that that muscle was so weak. Because it just sort of, it shocks them. They're like, whoa, oh my God, this is happening. and I love that. I mean, that's the intervention bit again. It's just sort of like, ding.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I like your expression of empathy muscle. Like, I think it's a good wording of the job of an artist, to bring this sensibility sponge, like, let's get some water, fill in. That's so great.
There's so many things that we participate in our lives that are designed in consciously or unconsciously to be numbing behaviors, you know, like excessive drinking or watching, playing video games, whatever you do to numb yourself, you know. And I'm not saying that I don't do my own things, but those sleeping behaviors are again why the intervention, because to reach in and bring something that's like visceral and live and raw, that you have to feel and you have to engage. I think engagement is key to us surviving here. We have to engage with this process. We can't just sleepwalk through it. And there's so many things that make it easy for us to sleepwalk through it. You know, so many shopping experiences, and you know, so many lovely distractions to keep us from having to engage on a more core level of like what's actually happening. And so this is very much my work to reach into those spaces and sort of provide an opportunity for expansion or awakening. Or that's every job, really, if you're taking it seriously. It maybe it might be a
but it's good. It's kind of an aware seriousness, not solid, just like, that's the duty of it. That's the purpose around. And I really appreciate that. It's so deep and profound. And we have to bring more people towards this art. It's kind of a good a good awakening, as you say. It's, and I love that you say it's activist too. It's
Yeah.
positioning into
I
the
mean, I want
world.
people to have fun too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
To laugh and have delight and fun and just have, but we don't shy away from reflecting some of the other parts of humanity that might be like, oh,
Yeah.
oh, oh, well, I better look at that. I mean, well, while I'm here, I'll look at that as
Yeah.
well, um, because it just we try to weave the story in our so that organically it's just pulled forth into
Yeah.
from the unconscious to the conscious.
Yeah.
And what better role would an artist fill to like take the unconscious and bring it to the just, I mean,
Yeah.
that is very much why I'm here.
Yeah. I love it. I think it's a great phrasing, and we have approval. Eric is there and he say that your empathy muscle is a great phrase. And we have some question, but oh yeah, Aileen asked your top 3 of your favorite puppetry companies. That's kind of an interesting question.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, I would have to say Bread and Puppet first because I haven't mentioned them yet. And Bread and Puppet, not too far from you, if you're
Yeah.
up in Montreal. Um, they were the original inspiration for me back in 1990 when I first went. Maybe 1989, 19, and it was where I got my original sort of like epiphany that I was going to be a puppeteer for the rest of my
Uh-huh.
life. Because I went there and I just saw that there was a place there was an art form where you could do fine art, theater, dance, music, um, writing, all the things is what I call it now. You could do all of the you could do all the things under one umbrella. Um, and Peter Schumann was, I mean, I call him my illegitimate grandfather. So he gave me the initial spark. We were able to have a friendship develop over the years where the place where I used to live, we used to make choke wine and we would bring it to Peter Schumann and we would drink wine together.
Mm.
And he's quite a brilliant man. And if you don't know Bread and Puppet, you should. If you're watching the Puppet podcast and you don't know about Bread and Puppet, then
Yeah.
you need to kind of do some work. Um,
Yeah.
but aside from that, I mean, some of my favorite, I've long loved and been, friends with um, a lot of puppeteers around the world. And I would say, hmm, another one that comes to mind is Heart of the Beast in Minneapolis. I know Minneapolis is going through a lot, so that's why another reason why I mentioned them. There's still a lot of really intense upheaval happening there,
Mm.
and some of the artists that I know that came out of there, that one of them who now lives in England, his name is Andrew Kim, and he is an absolute fantastic puppeteer artist who does giant spectacle stuff now a lot as well. And he does the Handmade Parade over in northern England and Hebden Bridge. Um,
Mm.
so he came out of Heart of the Beast, which Heart of the Beast also sprang out of the wide castings of seeds of inspiration from Bread and Puppet and Peter Schumann. So and he runs a company called Thingamajig over there in England. And let's see, a third one would be, gosh, I don't know. Let's see. I would say Manual Cinema, and I don't know if you've heard of Manual Cinema, but they do uh, beautiful shadow puppet experiences that are very cinematic. Um,
Ah.
do it all live with overhead projectors and live, people just really doing cool tricks and holding different things in front of the overheads and they're an incredible company to check out, Manual Cirque.
Yeah. Yeah, I will for sure. And it's giving some new names for interview. Let's see. Yeah. Thank you, Eileen. It was a great question because it's bring to the crush. I always go with this question, when your crush for puppetry happened, but you almost name it with this bread and puppet moment.
Yeah, that was it. That was it. It was a lifelong love affair that started when I was 19. And it basically, I literally walked onto the farm and there was giant puppets and masks and pageantry and shadows and live music and circuses. And it was such an incredible experience in my life, that I just really never looked back from that moment. Because I had already been doing and practicing being a musician, being a theater improv artist. I have been practicing, drawing, painting, and I didn't know how to focus any of that into a career, because I was just interested in all of it. And so it was a true epiphany, to arrive there and just be like, oh, the clouds opened up, and that was it. I never looked back, and so I don't even want to say how many years ago that was, but
But that's amazing. We have all a kind of a sparkle moment, and I always like to have it on the show.
yeah,
And
that was a big one.
yeah. And my next question is about, like, in your opinion, the best path to become a puppeteer.
The best path.
To like a training, a study, what would be the best in your opinion?
So I would say that I'm pretty unconventional in my approach. I mean, I'm not quite self-taught, but I mostly did not go to school. I went to 1 year of art school, and it was after that I went to Red and Puppet in the summer, and I never went back after that because I realized, I guess I realized I was either going to make art that people liked or I wasn't. It wasn't going to matter whether I had a degree in art, I guess is what I figured.
Wow.
So I decided not to go with a degree. I just decided to go with a practice but it took a lot of work to self-discipline because I didn't have that sort of naturally. So the only way I found to work my way around not having a lot of my own self-discipline was to create deadlines, for myself. Like, there will be a show on August 5th, and it's like, it will start then. And I did not want to show up to that looking like a fool, or just like with my pants around my ankles, like, I don't know what's going on. So I would work really hard to make that show the best thing that I could make it. So I continue with that model. It's a weird, unorthodox deadline model where it's like, the show is coming, so I have to do the work. Like, I can't just just hope that today I'll get inspired to go wander over to my studio and build something. It's like I'm over there working and doing the thing because it's coming. And that evolved into a thing where we had interns. We have like between 6 and 8 interns every year who work with us throughout the summer. We have 4 or 5 studio artists who work with us, Jan and I. So each day there's, between 12 and 16 people in the studio, all building. And Jan and I are going around and making sure that everything is going in the direction that we want it, and teaching and working and building. It's a very intense process.
Yeah.
Because it's all happening in the summer heat and there's no air conditioning. And but our own process evolved. But back to the question is that after I quit art school, it really is, if you're going to decide not to have any kind of formal training, which there's only a few places that you can get formal puppetry training.
Mm-hmm.
One of them, my friend John Bell, teaches at the University of Connecticut. And there's the one in France that Basil Twist went to, the fancy French puppetry school. Whatever. I mean,
it's Charleville-Mézières.
Yes, that one. Yes. And I just didn't go that path because I just decided to rely on my own fire to just keep pushing the projects forward. And then I fell back on this deadline system. And so I don't have any advice that's like probably, except for if you're going to decide not to do schooling, you just have to dig in and have very serious determination and to just keep going, even though you and you have to figure out ways to keep money flowing in. So you have to be an entrepreneur, which was a totally unexpected piece for me.
That's
I had
true.
to figure it out because it wasn't my first inclination at all. My inclination was to be a puppeteer, and
you have a lot of the entrepreneur mind for sure.
It's tricky. I find that it's good to figure out how to, when you can, to pay other people. You have to know how to get good help around you, to take care of some of the things that you have to play to your strengths and play to your passions and avoid falling down into pitfalls that are things that you're not good at and that you will basically take you away from the work that you're trying to do. So it was a very organic evolution. It's sort of hard to describe. I don't have any kind of recommendations there except work really hard. Pouring your heart into it. Keep it real.
That's a great recommendation.
Thank you.
Hey,
Leah, will you bring me the cord?
I could go with my next question.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, the next one is, what is your own definition of a puppet? Like, if someone asks you, what is a puppet? Do you have your statement?
Just a second.
Okay.
Hey, will someone bring me the cord from over there? My battery's going to die.
Yeah, the phone, the video streaming takes a lot of battery.
Yeah. What is a puppet? There's a lot of academic answers that I would say.
Hello.
I have certainly. That's my daughter.
Yeah.
She's a big Cirque du Soleil fan.
Cool.
She's also a big fan of mine. Whatever. There's so many different ways that the academic world has, sort of laid out different definitions of what puppet is. For me, it's anything that I can make come to life through my intentions and through my good attention. So it really can be anything, because you can make a pillow or a couple of potatoes stuck with forks, or you could a chair. There's just really anything can be made to live if you study how and figure out how to do it, or you sort of pour your intention and your emotion into it. So intention and attention are the things that I feel like are the things that really do spark life in any object that wants to become a puppet. But for me, it's just I love making faces, and I love drawing faces and hands, and I'm really drawn to how hands express so many things with their. And so I like to sculpt. I like to just find form, and then once I find these forms and I mash them into place and I get them wrapped in paper mache or whatever I do,
Mm-hmm.
I like to see how I can move them on the end of a pole, and then I just experiment and play. That's my process, and so
Yeah.
I feel like puppetry is playfulness, and it's finding our emotions, and our thoughts and our all of our human experience.
Totally.
Finding it in anything that you choose to sort of project your, um, I guess, life force and
Yeah.
you.
I,
So I mean, I really am pretty open to whatever people define puppets as. I mean, I know what I define it as because I have sort of like a mechanism that has come into place
mm-hmm.
for the type of puppets that I build. But a shadow puppet, again, has like a very different way of entering our consciousness than a giant puppet, for example.
Yeah.
Uh, but and it's just little cut paper, and it's on an overhead projector, and the thing that might actually get into someone's mind or heart might be the way that I'm crossfading between two projectors, and they see um, a grayed image disappearing while another image comes forward. Um, it may not be the actual puppet itself, but it might
Mm-hmm.
be any combination of factors and elements that spark something inside of
Yeah.
people, and um, so it's pretty wide open definition. I don't.
Yeah. But I love the intention. You bring intention, attention, you put this into the puppet. It's really a good wording. I think it's the first time someone word it like this. It's great.
Thank you. I mean, when I'm on stage with a giant puppet, see all the there's no hiding.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see if you see any of our videos, the puppeteers are just holding bamboo poles, and what I find is that with the level of suspension of disbelief that I was talking about earlier, that
Yeah.
when people see the puppeteers there, it's like it doesn't bother them in the slightest. They're not like, oh, I can see the guy right there. It's like they're like they follow my attention straight up to the puppet, and how
Yeah.
I'm focused completely on what I'm holding and how the head is moving, and if it has a rope to pull the head around,
Yeah.
I'm
It's a
hyper.
presence.
Yeah, I'm in the present moment with it completely. That's my job when I walk on stage with a puppet, is to be so completely present with it that my presence is not noticed.
Mm.
Only my people just follow my attention in a very quick flow, right from looking at me up to seeing the puppet.
Uh-huh.
Um, and it only reinforces and adds to. It doesn't take away. Like I'm not a very hidey puppeteer who's like I don't do much of that.
Uh-huh.
I like to see the people right out there because there's something about the human endeavor
Yeah,
of
I
puppetry
agree.
that allows even more of a connection to it, because um, you're able to read all of that presence and
Mm-hmm.
also read the emotion that's being translated through the music and through the movement. So yeah, I just love to play in that world. That's all. That's what puppetry is like finding how to play and work and play. I kind of consider those the same in many ways,
Yeah.
to work and play in that realm of
That's great. That's great. I want to know if you believe our art is in an ascension or it's getting less popular.
well, I mean, there's no doubt we've been in a total renaissance of puppetry for the past 10 years or so, of like up 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 with the advent of Lion King and
Mm-hmm.
all of the other really big, well-known spectacle puppetry things, puppets at the Super Bowl, puppets at the Olympics,
Yeah.
puppets in the like so many movies, and it's just really, it's experienced a huge renaissance, and it's gotten back on people's radar from a time in America, North America, US, where everyone had it pigeonholed into, it just had to be the Muppets or something like Howdy Doody, or this group of puppets that was sort of more kiddie, you know, leaning. So that's why it's just about everyone that you come into contact with in the US still is being educated that puppets
Mhm.
don't mean like kiddie theater, you know, like that it means theater with moving art, and dancing and music, and it's this synergized art space, and that has all of this unexpected power, like that I was speaking of
Yeah.
before. And I would say that our audiences have grown right along with more people becoming, I guess, educated to
Yeah.
um, the power that is in there. And so whether it's hard to know what COVID will do to all of us.
Yeah. That's kind of bring the next question about in 10 years, where you see the puppetry art.
Oh man.
That's a hard question. That's almost the end.
Well, I've got visions of us continuing to just be on the trajectory that we've already been on for the past 20 years, which was to refine, enhance our craft as artists,
Hmm.
um, to be able to tell stories that transform people, and awaken people to, um, from any sleeping state that they may have been in, to
Hmm.
go home and start conversations that um, have been needing to be started for so long that we put off.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, I want to continue on that trajectory. I have to. I feel there's some work I can do online with shadow puppets and other things. We've got we've got previous shows that we're releasing. Sometimes we just segment out only the shadow puppets or little scenes that work as little shining moments, I call them, where they're just
Yeah.
some beautiful little interaction that just works,
Yeah.
with the music and everything. But when it comes to what's happening in the next 10 years, I mean, I could have never guessed what 2020 would be for
Yeah.
me or any of us. Uh, it's been quite the year so far. And of course, in the US, where we are, and I'm in the South, which is also very racially charged place.
Yeah.
I live in a county that is the birthplace of the KKK,
Hmm.
and it's like where it actually originated, and so there's so much to face there, and so much
Hmm.
to face with COVID, and the disparities between the wealth disparities are so huge.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah. But we will focus on positivity.
yeah,
I will
but
bring. Yeah.
so there's no shortage of material. I don't necessarily want to like dwell on all of that, but again, I'm in this place that I find that maybe some other artists can relate,
Yeah.
and just not knowing exactly what it is I'm going to bring to the conversation as we move forward, as we start
Yeah.
to crest, whenever we do crest, because we're still, um, you know, eh, there's a lot of work to be done, and so I don't ever want to shy away from our art, to be very engaged with all that artivism, activism.
Yeah.
Um, at the same time, I want to bring people joy and expansive, radiant feelings of,
Yes.
connection. But I there's a lot of terrain to traverse to get, um,
I get you totally. I
and
think
I really
you.
don't know what's next, actually.
Let's
Um,
bring some picture of your work,
oh,
and
sure.
you could tell me the big purpose for the future. If we just push this situation like just from the being, like from the inside. Let's bring this so everyone you have to watch this. This is amazing. I will put first the Google. If you
Yeah.
Google like Paperhand, look at those amazing puppets. So it's kind of like, that's why
Do you
my next question is
go for
the
it?
your big purpose for the future. I know you told your duty as an artist, but maybe you have something in mind about like something you want to do for the future, like a specific play, or like if we dream, it's, yeah, this is the question, and I will bring the other after
Mm.
the video, so maybe you can answer to this.
Yeah, I mean, we're still as committed to um, as when we started, and that's only deepened our commitment to shifting what we accept as normal,
Mm-hmm.
which just deeply disadvantages and hurts the earth and people,
Mm-hmm.
people of color. Um, it's just not okay with me to like
Yeah.
accept that tacitly as like normal, um, because of the violence that it does, and the shrinking of the opportunity for us to actually survive here, to survive ourselves as human beings. And so for some reason, for some foolish reason, I continue to have hope that humanity is worth fighting for and worth trying to see the amazing things that we can do, how we can spend our time here rather than tearing each other apart and tearing each other down, but to build what we can build. So I've always been an optimist in that way. Um, I sometimes have my moments of doubt when I witness so much ridiculous and horrible behavior, um, and such entitlement and such ignorance and such
Mm.
uh, just complete lack of humility, in the um, yeah. There's so many difficult things. So I try to keep coming back to what my job is, what my role is as an artist, and it's
Mm-hmm.
to um, and that is to again bring the unconscious to the conscious, to bring the sleeping to the awake, to bring to bring the light in the darkness. It's to sing out in a time of silence. That's the role of the artist, and uh, this is the archetype that I've somehow found myself squarely placed in, and um, there's no turning back. So for me, the next 10 years is only about deepening that, and deepening my own practice with art, so that um, whatever I am putting in front of people um, will just, yeah, it'll just continue to be my strongest, most raw, loving intent, bent on healing and bent on equity and justice. It'll be all of those things, but
Yeah.
trying to deepen and to continue to lift up voices that are sometimes not heard, oftentimes not heard. Um, Continue
Yeah.
to create collaborations with people of color, indigenous people, so many different groups that I want to continue to engage with.
Yeah.
That more of those stories are being told, and it increases our survivability to be more diverse, and because there's nothing stronger than in nature than a very diverse an ecosystem.
Yeah.
uh, we're we're working in that direction. Yeah, I don't really know. I mean,
It's so great. I think it's like the mission also is still there. And as you said, it's kind of a statement. I think I could quote you on this. It's kind of like the role of the artist. It's really something we need to name it, and just that's value. That's a lot of value for humanity. And it's kind of like we need to promote this duty and this. I want to conclude because I know you are in the big forest and you have like no puppet there. But
I did. I wish I was at my studio for you. I could show you around and I could put things on. I just the way that the interview worked out. I'm here in the mountains, but people want to check out our work. We do have a pretty strong, sort of presence online.
yeah.
Vimeo and YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. We have a Vimeo channel. You can Google us. Our work is everywhere if you're interested in
Yes.
finding out more.
I would just put a little part of your video at the big, like the one you told me. It's a little documentary. I would just put the beginning so you will see all the motion of those beautiful beasts who walk around.
Beautiful Beast. That was one of our shows.
It's so beautiful. I think everyone hear the sound.
Yeah, loves our work.
That's so giant.
A giant snail. We did a show all about insects.
Wow. I put also the .org on the chat, people, if you are curious. Just have a look.
Puppetry is everything.
Puppetry is everything. There was my answer.
I like that. Yeah, so I go have a look on this video for sure. I will remove it off the screen because
reflects our humanity back to us.
it's so a lot of humanity, as you said in this. It's a lot of humanity in your work. I really want to acknowledge that. It's so beautiful and full of giant stuff. It's kind of like put us into perspective, but humanity into perspective of giant. Yeah. That's great.
Thank you so much, Caroline.
Thank you for being part of the show. And yeah, thank you, everyone. We have some comment like people approve what you said. Like we have Deborah who said incredible work, and Eric also really future is full of mystery is approving whatever is there. You inspire people. So I will say like, yeah, keep your time resource and let's go back and we will fight.
That's right. That's right. Keep fighting the good fight.
Yes.
More of your work too. I hope that you get a chance to, show yourself, your puppetry self, again. We definitely enjoyed watching what you did and some, and Axel and other things.
Yes, thank you. We wish the best for the future. So stay there, Donovan. I will say the last thing by myself on the screen, and we will chat after for the interview. So everyone, thank you very much for watching. Feel free to comment, share, like, post. It will be on YouTube in 2 weeks almost. And yeah, we will share from there. And look at all this beautiful network we create. Keep in touch with Puppetry with Hope. And see you soon for a next episode. Bye, everyone. Good night.